Hey guys, what's up? This is Yuri with the GT Nuts group. I know a lot of you are probably wondering like what the GT Nuts program is, because I've always started out with the GT Coalition. Well, anyway, just kind of long story short, the GT Nuts program is their super fan group. GT approached me about joining it, and I agreed to. And so the coalition will still exist with a lot of the performance and race-based, kind of more of the privateer group, it sounds like. So, you know, they'll get a lot of the GT support. I do as well. So it's just kind of more fitting for me to be in the GT Nuts program, because I have a collection of bikes, GT bikes and stuff like that. So, hence my introductions will be with, you know, of course, me with the GT Nuts program and not with the coalition. So that's a quick update for those of you that didn't watch my me driving in a car, my by myself podcast. But anyway, I thought today I would do something more interesting. I'd give you guys a long-term follow-up, because I know the first time I did my bike check on the 2020 GT Zaskar Elite alloy, there was an issue with the front wheel, but now everything's fixed, everything's ready to go. So I will go over the bike kind of as a refresher front to back. So of course, I have these custom bar end caps. You know, I do Kung Fu and Tai Chi, so I just thought this was fitting. Here I run the Race Face half Nelson grips, because you'll see them in a lot of my bike checks. They're my favorite grips. They're tacky if you do barehanded. They're not going to eat in your hands if you forget your gloves, but if you have your gloves, they still feel good too. And they last, they don't wear out. These have lasted for a long time, like on all my bikes. Here I did something different. So originally I had the Altera stem on here. This is running a 31.8 clamp still, 1 1/8 for the steer tube, FSA gravity stem. It's a really nice stout stem. I like it more than the original Altera. Because I do trial stuff too, so you know, the more weight I can put in the back for rear wheel hops and stuff like that, I appreciate. So this is the FSA gradient stem, I'm sorry, and it's great. I like it a lot. And you know, I don't raise it completely. I usually give it a spacer, because I like it kind of not too tall up there. Here, this runs the Race Face sector fork. This is their 100 mil travel fork on a 29er wheel. It's a 110 boost spaced front hub, and it's a 148 rear spaced rear end. So you get that nice kind of boost spacing. This is a 51 millimeter offset by 15 by 110, obviously for the hub, on a 29er wheel. So the other thing, and you know, this sector fork has done an amazing job. It's you know, if anybody sees my shredded edit, I do it day in and day out, and this fork is held up no problem. You know, of course, it's important to do maintenance and stuff like that. I run my sag a little more firm on here, so usually my PSI setting definitely goes above, you know, the it's at the it's usually at the higher end, so this does not have so much sag in it. Even don't be fooled by that, I was just wiping this down. So here I run the Magura MT7 4-piston brakes. I just love the Magura 4-piston brakes. They're reliable. The performance on them is incredible. The MT7 pad or levers, you know, you can adjust how close you want them or not. You know, they've got the carbotecture, which is plastic, you know, so you got to be a little bit careful. And I've replaced the clamps, so these are metal. That way you just don't over tighten them by accident and crack them, because the carbotecture or the plastic ones will crack if you don't torque them according to spec, if you over tighten them just even a little bit. So you have to be careful about that. I will say, I should have brought this up too, this is the Sektor RL fork with the Debonair spring in the back, or in it. So I haven't had any issues with the fork. I think you know, for 100 millimeters of travel, it's fine for the kind of style riding that I'm doing. I might put a Yari fork on here at some point, because I do have one. So that's a possibility. It's a 130 mil travel fork though, so it will rake the bike out a little bit, but I'm not honestly too worried. It's such a good bike. Here I was having issues with the SRAM. The one big pain in the ass issue with this SRAM crankset and bottom bracket combo is this thing was coming loose all the time, and this part component gutted the whole thing out, re-greased it, tightened it down, so this should hold up. I'm hoping it will, because that just, you know, thanks to my wonderful bike shop, Go Huck Yourself Bikes, because I tried fixing it myself, and it was always coming, it was always creaking. It was almost as bad as press fit, almost as bad, not as bad. So but anyway, up front, this is the crankset NX 34 tooth crankset up front. In the back, it's a 12 speed with an 1150 teeth, 50 cent, no I'm kidding, 50 teeth tooth in the back. The Vittoria bars, though, I love these tires. So these are the 29 by 2.25s, and as you can tell, the seat stays. I think you could go if you wanted to push it to 2.3, you probably could get it, and it's going to run tight. The floating seat stays here are incredible. Like, I love how they ride. Like, it's the most comfortable rigid hardtail, or I mean, it's the most comfortable hardtail aluminum frame I've ever ridden. Even more compliant than a lot of my carbon bikes. It would rival easily the 2018 GT Zaskar Carbon Pro that I have. So, but amazing job. I've been hucking this thing pretty hard, and you know, I've been keeping an eye on this, and I haven't had, this has not cracked, you know, like I don't see any signs of that. I hope that's just a scratch. We'll see. I'll do another long-term follow-up. It's called I broke my bike, but you know, I've been taking it off of usually about 4 to 5 foot drops, so repeatedly. So we'll see how this works, and it undergoes the stress of trials. So another thing to be kind of, I have to keep an eye on, but I believe this bike will hold up. It's been such a solid performer. Also of note, here this P&W dropper has done an excellent job doing its job. I have had 0 issues in the winter when it's dead cold, raining, mud. You just wipe it down, take good care of it, and it will work flawlessly. Here the internal routing is pretty neat. You know, it just all comes out here, and it's easy to route. You know, your rear derailleur cable, obviously your brake line is still external, so up to the point you get here, and you know, you just have these little covers and stuff. The WTB saddle I haven't changed. It's super comfortable. This is the, you know, my sit bones are 147 millimeters, and this is like the pretty close in spec. I think it comes out to like ballpark 145. So I think measure your sit bones if you're gonna get any kind of bike anyway, just to make sure you have the right saddle and it's a comfortable ride. This P&W dropper, though, I'm getting used to the lever. Has a nice little barrel adjuster here, so you know, you want it just to be a little more snappy, or you could adjust it that way. Also keep in mind, if you're going to go with this kind of dropper, just make sure that you know which kind of lever. If you're going to use a different lever other than P&Ws, just make sure you have one that's compatible with the dropper post, because it's more of if it's one that accepts the cable head or just the end of the cable, or even both. So to mitigate that, in a future one, I have a wolf tooth light action lever coming in, so I'll do a review on that, because I'm doing another bike check. Sorry, I should have mentioned, the lockout on here has been pretty good too. Haven't had any issues. You know, the cable's just kind of fraying from use. I mean, yeah, at some point it just needs to get replaced, and not a big issue. Originally this bike came with the SRAM NX shifter. I've changed that out, you know, to a SRAM GX, because the original NX just was giving me issues. It wouldn't shift anymore, so rather than wait for the warranty issue, which would have taken weeks with SRAM, I decided I was just gonna spend a little more money because I was excited to get the bike, and I got it at a great deal anyway. So I was just gonna, you know, I could splurge a little bit on a GX shifter, and it's worked pretty well. I haven't had skipping or shifting issues. The only time I've had skipping or shifting issues is in the Pacific Northwest. As you can see, a bunch of foliage falls down, Dig picks up leaves, and, you know, gets caught up in a cassette, but that's it. I still run uncut, yeah, uncut, the 31.8 by 760 millimeter wide Altera handlebar. It's super comfortable for me. I like the setup, so not touching it. I like this handlebar, so I'm keeping it. The SRAM NX rear derailleur. It's a 12-speed. You know, as you could tell with the 12-speed cassette, that makes sense. So it works. This bike still runs inner tubes. I don't have an issue. I run any of my bikes, they still run 3 psi. So, but I will say, in the Pacific, I will mention the Vittoria Barzos. Shout out to Vittoria. They make such an incredibly good tire. These are my favorite winter tires of all time because they have incredible traction in the wet, the dry. You know, I'm so pleased with this tire. And muddy wood, like in the Pacific Northwest, here in the United States, you know, there's root sections, and this thing does not slip as bad as other tires I've had, even compared to the, I think, the Schwalbe Nobby Nicks I've tried on my LTS sensor. So I actually might switch to the Barzos or the Agaros, because gosh, these perform so good. Even when it's frozen dirt, like, these perform so good. My favorite tire of all time. So yeah, I love the Mezcals too. They're fast, but they're a great dry summer tire. But I think my money is on the Vittoria Barzos. It was a good choice by GT, one of the nicest specs. Oh, here, shout out to Portland Metalworks. They make such a wonderful, cool cage. You know, it just matched the frame. So this you can pick up. It's like 20 bucks, I think, at REI. So that's where I got mine. And it's fun. It's cool, you know, and it's metal, so you can bend it back or whatever you have to, you know, or whatever. If you hit something, you know, some I've crashed and I've broken them. So this is really nice. And it's a really durable piece, really reliable. Doesn't warp, come apart. I've had multiple times where I'm just running water balls through it, and it doesn't, compared to my other water ball cages, this has been the most consistent, like, steady, don't have to do a thing. Other than that, that is pretty much my long-term follow-up. You know, it's been a great bike. The wheels are still, I have been hitting this hard, like, the wheels still are true. I put these on a stand. I know looking at the tire doesn't help, but you know, I'm just in love with the bike. I think it's a great trail bike. If you're looking for a good all-around trail bike, and you want to upgrade from the Avalanche and get real genuine boost spacing, not the 141 stuff, totally put your I know in the United States they don't offer this bike, which is unfortunate, but for those of you that are watching globally, where you can get a GT Zaskar, my money's on the alloy bike. I like it more than the carbon, to be honest, because it's not a press fit bottom bracket. I always mention this all the time, but the threaded bottom brackets on this, it's gone through so much punishing stuff and held up so great, so I'm excited. That said, if you are looking for a great trail hardtail, you know, look no further than a wonderful GT Zaskar. From their 2020 lineup. Their alloy bikes are great. It's comfortable. I have a lot of positive things to say about it, and I know it's biased because, you know, I represent GT, but regardless, like, I'll be honest with you guys, you know, like, at least I can tell you that between this and the carbon bike, if you want a real nice trail bike, this is the one to look at over the carbon bike. I think the press fit stuff might give you an issue if you're riding hard like me, and you're gonna, it probably great for a cross-country race, but if you're gonna be hitting rocky stuff, jumps, everything in between, like a trail bike, this is the bike. You get the 148 spacing, the 110, you know. I'm excited to see how this bike does with the RockShox Yari fork, so stay tuned for that. That's probably gonna happen maybe in the summer. We'll see. While this fork goes in for service, I'll probably just throw on the Yari fork and give it a good run, so because it also runs boost spacing on a 29er setup. That said, if you folks have any questions, feel free to let me know. You know, as you know, I'm always happy to respond and chat with everybody. Thanks for watching. The next video coming up will be soon is I retro modded my year 2000 GT Rebound, and it's gonna be rocking a jobber post, Magura rim brakes, and 1x10 setup. So I'm excited for that, and hopefully you guys are too. I'll do another shredded edit when I can of this bike. It's just been it gets dark here in the United States, like in the Pacific Northwest, at like 4 o'clock, and it's right now 2:30 and almost 3, and it's hopefully there's enough light. That said, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. I'm still putting out content. Love you guys. All right, have a good new year. See you next time. Bye.